Hey there folks, Aldershot here, and today we're going to take a look at Pharaoh's Rebirth, and it's available on Steam at the regular price around $10 USD. Now this is a Metroidvania style of game, mashed up with action platforming kind of sensibilities, if you will. So think maybe Castlevania Symphony of the Night or a Metroid game, combined with, say, Dust the Elysium Tale, or maybe Cave Story. And we'll have something similar to, say, Pharaoh's Rebirth. I've been enjoying this game for the last 3.5 hours or so. There's definitely a lot to like about the game. And there's a couple of little stuff to dislike about the game as well. As you would imagine with these kind of impression videos. But yeah, we'll talk more about that when we actually jump into the game, which we will do right now. Alright, we are going to continue our game and not delete our save files. I think that would be the appropriate thing to do. Anyways, I am going to actually go down to Exit Dungeon, because I want to show you guys the stages that's available in this game. There is 8 if you count the prologue. I'm assuming it's 8 because this game takes place over a 7-day period, and each day being its own stage, not counting the prologue. So if you count the prologue, I'm assuming there's going to be 8 in total. I have 4 unlocked. If you do count the prologue, I have up to stage 3 available to me, up to the Nile, right? So I haven't quite finished the game, to say the least, but I think I have a general idea of how the game's going to play out anyways. But anyways, we're going to jump into, let's say, stage 2, a level that I've already completed, so I can give you a decent idea of what the game's all about, without derping around too much, because this game's actually relatively challenging. There's definitely a degree of skill that is required of the player in order to do well, and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, let's just jump over here. This is a save point, by the way. I guess I should start explaining some of the core mechanics and features of the game. This is a save point. You will be able to save your game here when you hit this point, as the name of the save point would, you know, describe it as. But you can also regen a bit of your HP if you have any lost HP here as well, which is very useful, of course. Anyways, we got some enemies here, so let's take care of them nice and quickly, just like that. There's another one here. He explodes, so let's run away from the explosion. So there's a few attacks that is available to the player. For the time being, we're going to just skip this segment here and jump into the next segment. You can do that if you finished the level already. But let's see, you have your normal attack, then you also have an upswing as well. Then you also have the aerial attack, which is oh so useful, which is definitely one of my favorite attacks that's available in this game. You also can have a dash sort of maneuver here, great for getting around any given map, but it's also really good for dodging projectiles as well, as they'll go right through you if you use this little dodge technique at the right time. Anyways, here's some more enemies. Let's take care of these guys nice and quick with our aerial, which is again one of the reasons why I find it so useful. It's because it does a whole 360-degree kind of attack and gives you a partial shield, if you will. It can also destroy projectiles, but some projectiles that might come your way as well. Now, unlike other Metroidvania games, once you kill the enemies in one segment of the map, they remain dead, essentially. So they don't actually respawn, which is fairly common in a lot of more Metroidvania-ish games, but this one's it's a little bit easier on the player, I guess, but that's not to say the game is easy. It's actually quite challenging, quite punishing. There's no way to regain your health outside of the save points or the checkpoints or whatever you want to call it. It's really the only area that you can regenerate your health, which means being careful is definitely something you should consider doing when playing this game. Anyways, let's just get over here, regenerate some of our health just like that. Now, outside of the core attacks that I've showed you, you also have, or at least I have, this little, I guess you can say, tennis ball shooter. I would imagine later on in the game you'll get new equipment to use, but currently that's all I have. It's actually pretty good for range attacks. Just like that, actually. Yeah, there you go. Take a little bit of this, take a little bit of that. And using these kind of equipment attacks will drain your MP, which is the red bar just below my health bar in the top left-hand corner. Now, one of the reasons why the aerial attack is so useful is because you can actually use it to combo and stay in the air as well, allowing you to combo even further. Very, very useful, especially against bosses as well, in which the boss fights are actually pretty entertaining, pretty satisfying. They're not overly difficult, but at the same time they're challenging enough to be considered satisfying, right? And that's really something I could say about the entirety of this game, actually. I find the combat to be relatively easy to jump into and to understand, but with enough challenge to keep the player interested and, you know, motivated in progressing and getting better, essentially. I also have this kind of glide attack as well, which is relatively new, something that I picked up, and much like other Metroidvania-ish games, you'll be kind of adventuring through a kind of, I guess, sideways, horizontal map in the lookout for new skills, new abilities to help you progress through the stage, essentially. As you can probably tell already through just watching some of the gameplay that I'm kind of showcasing right now, that the level layouts are very similar to, say, Metroidvania-ish games. You know, it's relatively similar in other games of this genre, with, you know, the combat being one of the more, I guess, differentiating factors from those other Metroidvania-ish kind of games. It's a little bit more action-oriented, it's a little bit more, oops, I just died. A little bit more combo-oriented, I guess. Again, the combat, I think, is a little bit closer to, say, Dust, the Elysium Tale, or maybe Cave Story, than to more traditional Castlevania-ish kind of games, right? So I guess that's kind of where you're going to get some of the mishmashing of the two genres. And I just died again in a pit of death because I'm being terrible while trying to commentate and play at the same time. So do forgive me on that. But yeah, so yeah, I've been enjoying the game. I have to say, I enjoy the combat. I think it's definitely the part of the game that got me hooked as far as Pharaoh's Rebirth is concerned. And I think for good reason. I mean, like I said, the combat is easy to get into, but certainly does have a degree of challenge and skill that the player must master in order to do well and get that sense of satisfaction and progression through the game, right? So that's not a bad thing. And also the presentation, the animation, and the overall illustrations of this game is pretty well done, I have to say, especially the animation. Very well detailed. The frames are flowy and smooth and very, very high quality. Whoever's the animator and the illustrator of this game definitely knows what they're doing, without a doubt, right? My only real concern about its presentation is actually not really with this overall, you know, design or, you know, presentation itself or its aesthetic. Rather, it's technical. What's that word I'm looking for? What mars its presentation is its technicalities. Okay, I think that's the best way I can put it. I do love fighting. The combat in this game too, as you can see, you can kind of float in the air to avoid dangers if you use the aerial combos properly. But anyways, as I was saying, yes, there is some technical limitations with the game, and that really does mar the overall presentation, which is a bit unfortunate because it's actually pretty well done. You know, its illustration, its animations, all that stuff that I've already mentioned. But yes, the game doesn't have native resolution. That's what I'm trying to get at. No native resolution. In fact, the game doesn't even have a menus option once you jump in the game. Like, I'm pressing start and select right now. I am using the gamepad, by the way. Nothing happens. I pressed all the buttons, man. All the buttons, and there is no options menu. Now, when you first jump into the game, there is a launch menu, and that will allow you to adjust some sound settings. It will allow you to adjust your key rebindings, which is all good and fine. But the resolution options in that pre-launch menu that I talked about is pretty horrible. It's 640 by 640 box resolution, either full screen or windowed. And if you put on full screen, it actually stretches the pixels and distorts it, making everything fat and not good looking. It turns all the nice illustrations and animations into less nice animation and illustrations, let's just say, right? Which is really unfortunate, because it's one of the things that got, that this game got going for it, is its animation and its illustrations, and the full screenness, if you do decide to use that option, ruins that, right? So I definitely recommend using window, to say the least. However, even when you do choose window, it's a little tiny window. You kind of have to manually stretch it to something resembling a full screen mode, and yeah, it's just not optimal. It's not really what you would be looking for as far as resolution options are concerned. So that's a bit unfortunate. Something else that kind of marred my overall experience with this game is the lack of a map. Like, I'm kind of lost right now. I don't really know where I'm supposed to be going, even though I've been through this map already. And that is mainly because unlike other Metroidvania games, there is no... Actually, you know what? Let's just get out of this map and we'll continue talking at it on another map. There is no area to actually, there's no map. There's no compass. There's no mini-map. Nothing of that sort. Now, on the storefront, the game mentioned that, there's a way to customize your map and you can mark areas that you've already been to and all that stuff, but I've yet to be able to find that option, okay? I'm about halfway through the game, give or take, and I've yet to see that option. I pushed all the buttons, guys. I pressed all the buttons, and nothing happened. There's no way for me to find a map, Like, I'll click on this. This shows me all the items I picked up, which, by the way, some of the items have passive upgrades, which is all cool and nice and stuff like that. Some are active items where, you can use to increase your attack power or increase your health, etc., etc. There you go. That part of the mechanics covered. But there's no map options, at least none that I could find. And that really does hurt the overall experiences. I've gotten lost more than once. It's only through trial and error and pure attrition that I've made it as far as I have right now. Considering that my navigation skills in games and in real life is actually pretty horrible. So without a proper map, it really, really does hurt my overall experience. Now, given the maps in this game so far from what I've played have been relatively small, definitely a lot smaller and a lot shorter than more classical Metroidvania-ish games. And that might actually be to the benefit of this game, considering how hard of a time it is for me to find an actual map in this game, which again I haven't found yet, right? So that's a bit unfortunate. So these are the things that kind of bothered me about the game. Mainly the lack of a native resolution or any kind of resolution option at all. No 1080p or anything like that. No options menu. At least no in-game options menu, I should say. And one of the biggest factors is that there's no map. That's a really big inconvenience. That's a huge hit against its quality of life to its players. So there's some of the concerns I have about the game. But overall, I have to say, I've been enjoying Pharaoh's Rebirth. It's mainly the challenge level, and as well as its you know, it's combat that I've enjoyed the most out of the game. Its animation and its top quality illustrations definitely doesn't hurt either, which is definitely a good thing. So yeah, overall I've had a good time with it, you know, it's not too bad at all. Just too bad about some of the technical problems. Again, the resolution problems, its lack of options menu, and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, the combat and learning the game and, you know, some of the level design's been really, really smart and very, very, what's that word I'm looking for? Very, very interesting as well, you know? So that's also something else the game has an up for, you know, as far as it being good, I guess, and good qualities of the game. But yeah, there you go, guys. That's Pharaoh's Rebirth. Not too bad at all. Marred by technicalities, unfortunately, but its overall gameplay and experience that it presents is definitely enjoyable, and I guess that's what counts. So, Pharaoh's Rebirth, hopefully you folks found this enjoyable. Hopefully you found this informative, and if you did, you know, show me some love, like, share, fave, and comment. And if you haven't already, subscribe, and I'll bring you lots more video games just like this. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. All the shoutouts.